heaven?
No. It's Iowa.
Ben, roll the bottle.
That won't be necessary. This here is Eric Lane, the toughest outlaw this side of the Mississippi. He wants killed a man.
We're here to storm
the Capitol.
Kinnick Stadium. Hide your women.
He once killed a man for saying the Vikings have won 0 Super Bowls. Kevin Jang, the fastest draw south of Canada. Just let us talk to you about a movie for a little bit. We'll be on our merry way. We're talking Day of the Outlaw on the Pot of Dreams.
Tex, rile him, and you're going to hear some screaming in this town today. Denver, half Cheyenne. Him hate white men, but he doesn't feel half so badly about white women.
Robert Ryan, Tina Louise, Burl Ives, all at the peak of their star performances in the down-to-earthiest drama of all. David Nelson, terrific in his first starring role.
You won't turn your men loose, Bruin?
They want to get drunk. They want to have some fun.
You won't let that happen?
They could swallow this town whole, and nobody would be alive to tell the tale.
Hey, everybody. You're listening to the Pot of Dreams. If you listen, we will pod. And today we are talking the 1959 Western, Day of the Outlaw. I picked this movie because I had a bit of a hankering for a Western. Flirted with Hang 'em High or Man Who Shot Liberty Valance. Stuff I've seen before but really like. But you heard about this movie from friend?
Things that people have heard of before.
Correct. I heard about this from a buddy and thought it sounded fun. So that's why I picked it. And I watched it. I mean, the spoiler alert is I did think the movie was fun, but start with you, Kevin. You were wrestling with the ending, but before we get there, did this movie have any appeal to you whatsoever, even though you'd never heard of it?
Well, I reckon there's something about barbed wire. It was interesting to see that as the beginning plot point of Act 1 was the barbed wire. But I thought once we got to the showdown in the bar where Jack Brune's characters came in, I thought the movie really took off then. Before that, it was all kind of slow and set up, I guess.
I mean, it was slow and set up. I probably like the setup more, but I mean, for anybody listening, we get this town in, I don't know, the 1860s, 1870s in Wyoming, Bitter, Wyoming. Used to be a town that was just run by outlaws exclusively. It's now kind of been, modernized. And there's a man who, you talk about barbed wire. I mean, he owns property and he wants to set up barbed wire to keep his cattle in. This other fella needs to just walk across the land and drive his herd because he's a rancher. So anyway, it's a land dispute. And the guy that's a rancher, he's pissed off about the barbed wire. He can't drive his cattle across barbed wire. And as the guy that helped civilize the town and killed all the bad guys, he feels he should be entitled to use the land how he wants. And that whole first act is aggressive guy who helped settle the town and rancher is conflicted with this farmer guy.
He's also in love with the farmer's wife.
Correct.
Yeah.
Correct. Correct.
But I was also going to say the whole town seems to be more like, hey, let us just farm, dude. Like, we all want.
Yeah, we're trying to build a community for him.
Yeah,
correct.
Right.
Like
he was the one guy, him and his buddy.
Right. And so there's this conflict, and it's going to be a showdown. And clearly the rancher is just the best at shooting and the toughest hombre in the area. And it builds to this first act confrontation between the farmer, who's everybody agrees is going to get his ass kicked, and the rancher. And it was almost the exact scene.
He's a cuck. He's a big time cuck, because we find out that the rancher guy had some relations with his wife in the past.
And he seemed to be a knowing cuck at some point in the movie. When we get there, it seems like maybe he was like okay with it.
He sent her up to see him and didn't want to come with.
He knows the situation, apparently. Yeah. Very bizarre, but
early cuckold.
That's fine. Yeah, he seemed to be cool with it. But nobody wanted him. Nobody wanted him to die, but he was going to die anyway. I mean, that is almost the exact movie though, Kevin, where it really takes off. It is just a lot of setup. It's mostly just people talking on a couple of sets where we learn all the dynamics. But there's this moment where it's about to shoot the guy. They're going to have a old fashioned shoot off. He says, "Roll the bottle." You quoted it in their little setup, and a guy rolls the bottle down along the bar, and once it hits the floor, that's when you're supposed to shoot. And literally right before it can fall, we get this general character coming in with a whole bunch of miscreants, and that's where the movie literally takes off. That was like the peak moment, and then it skyrockets because all of these characters come into the situation and change the dynamic. But before we even get there, I mean, Eric, how was this a boring, dumb movie for you that you thought was a waste of time?
No, I enjoyed it quite a bit. Like Kevin said, I think when so they're like cavalrymen, and we find out later that they had robbed like a stagecoach or something like that. A bank.
Stagecoach
that's
bank.
right.
So I think it was a bank, but yeah. Well,
right.
I mean,
and so they just happen to come upon this town, and they're on the run, and they're just happen to be there when this big showdown's about to happen. Like once that occurs, it's like, oh, this movie's it's there's drama, there's like suspense. You don't know, there's choices that they all have to make. They're like hostages at that point. And I think for me, you had mentioned last week that this was sort of an inspiration maybe to Hateful Eight, or at least somewhat tied to that movie.
Quentin Tarantino has probably seen the movie before.
Yeah. And once you see that, there's also this like winter storm is coming in, and they're all
everybody's
trapped.
Nobody can leave. Right. Yeah. Everybody's stuck.
Right.
Yeah.
That's kind of what Hateful Eight is. And then everybody sort of got these, sorry, go ahead.
And the leader of the Outlaws, he is keeping the Outlaws in control so they don't ruin the town, but he's dying. And that creates tension, because if he dies, then the Outlaws will decimate the town and the women.
It's folk. The threat of rape is real.
It's a very rapey movie. It's a
very unpleasant all throughout. Yeah, I mean, there's all these moments of tension because this guy who's a dishonorably discharged dude from the military for, I guess, murdering civilians.
The Mormon massacre.
Yeah, it's unclear exactly what he did, but I'm guessing
something went down in Utah.
Yes, shot unarmed civilians in Utah. So he creates this band of disparate, but some of them are absolute like sociopaths. One guy turns out to be a young kid who's actually decent, but it's so tense even early on because we find out he's got a wound, the general, and he's the only thing holding back the awful rapey dudes. And this guy who's normally a vet has to take a bullet out, and he's just like dripping with sweat. He's like, I don't know, man. Like if this were a horse, I'd just put it down because this is fucking bad. And he's like has no choice, and it's palpable. Well, like stress he feels because they have to keep the general alive, or else the town goes to hell. And the power dynamics just constantly shifting and on the verge of breaking down. No, I thought that tension level just held all throughout the movie.
It does such a good job of showing like how hard life was then. It's funny to me because like when I watch movies like this, you guys are probably gonna think I'm an idiot for saying this. Like I always have a hard time realizing, oh wait, like this was made in the 50s, but it's taking place, 100 years before that, right? Probably 1800s or whatever.
Late 1800s.
I mean, it's a period. It's still a period piece. Like I've said this before, and you guys have laughed at. Like when I watch like Kurosawa samurai movies, I'm like, oh wait, this didn't take place during the samurai times, right? It's like a period piece, from the past. And I think this movie does such a good job of showing, like, these guys had to cross mountains and shit, and all hope is just this little town with, nothing there really. And the guy's got a bullet hole, and he's still riding horses. Later on they go up the mountain, and I don't know. It's just I love seeing that in these movies. Like, it was back when men were men, and we weren't.
But there's no help.
beta
That's the
bitches.
thing. They're completely isolated. There's nobody they can call. There's nobody. They're screwed. They're like in the middle of bumfuck Wyoming. Nobody's coming.
Yeah.
Not for 2 days. So they have to figure out how do they navigate this precarious situation. They concentrate, like, they try to sneak the women away. One guy tries to ride a horse away, and it's like, it's just this constant, just slight little shifts that raise the tension all throughout, and it percolates.
I thought one little nice touch of realism was the daughter of I guess he's the general store owner. And she was like, I want more farmers so she can marry a farmer as opposed to all these ranch hands. And I thought that was a nice touch of realism. Like, oh yeah, these are actual people living in a town with hopes and dreams.
Yeah.
And there's like 10 of them.
Everybody's got multiple jobs, right? Because one guy's like a barber and something else. And they literally have cattle sitting in like a house somewhere. Like there's like a baby cow. Or maybe it's going to be a veal. I don't know. But it's just like sitting there at one point. Just
wasn't that the vet's office?
Yeah, but I sure. But was it sick? I don't know. They just wanted to keep it out of the cold. I think it was like, we got to keep it warm. It's just like offices right there. I don't know. It just all blends together, and it's like this small, tight knit community that was about to ravage itself anyway because of this conflict, and everything shifts. And I like that the vet guy, there's no doctor available, right? He's the vet. He has to make do. He's not a doctor, but he's the closest thing they've got. So he has to do all the doctor stuff. And at one point he gives the general just morphine. It's like, what else can I do? It's like, I'm just going to give him some morphine. That'll buy us a few hours. Like that's all we got. I thought it was very tense. All throughout. I was surprised by how actually tense it was all throughout.
Yeah, the fear was palpable, even though I know since this movie's from 1959, nothing graphic or terrible was actually going to happen. They kept that illusion going.
Oh yeah,
through the whole movie.
That fist fight was pretty brutal. Like, so what's the guy's name? Is like Stairs? What's the main dude's name?
Blaze is the tough, rancher guy.
Blaze.
Yeah.
And so is it Tex the guy? He's like, let's just have a fist fight, And so he whoops his ass, and then the rest of the guys just sort of jump him and beat the shit out of him. So I don't know. I thought that was pretty violent.
It is, yeah. And there's constantly trying to like come up with these like half measures and compromise because Bruin has to right. He's got a bunch of sociopaths in his gang, and he doesn't want the killing to happen. So he's like, I'm just gonna go ahead and beat the shit out. Get some of your frustrations out by having a fight.
Have a nice dance party where you're forcing these ladies to dance.
Yeah. A little soft groping was going on there.
And just unwanted kissing. It was, I mean, it's like that. He was like, this is what I got to do to try to reach a compromise. And everybody's constantly like, I've got a gun here.
It also, it made me think a lot, we think about today's times and how things are crazy, but like, we aren't all that far removed from men just like having a gun and just taking what they want. You know
that's what this movie's about, ultimately.
I know, but like we're only a few generations away from that, really, if you think about it, So it's kind of wild. Like we live in a civilized society where, you pay taxes and you follow the rules and stuff. But not all that long ago, men just took guns and stole and raped and, killed, did whatever they wanted, It's crazy.
Yeah. Yep.
I would have been the farmer Hal with the cuckold situation. I wouldn't have been
offering your wife for protection.
I wouldn't have been shooting or fighting anybody. Sorry.
Yeah, I mean, usually people who do that end up dead anyway. But yeah, I mean, it's just the whole situation is just so precarious, and really, they want to just make it whatever it is, the 2 days that the people are going to stay there, and then they'll move on. But it's not sustainable because the general is on the brink of death. And it's, man, it was, yeah, you're right.
Well,
It's awful stuff.
Blaze's plan, I think, is also pretty brilliant. You know how he's like, I got to get these guys out of here because if they stay, everybody's going to die, and they'll just take whatever they want. And so he's willing, and it's a heroic thing too because he knows
it is
going to die too. He's like, I got to take these guys up in the mountain, and we're all going to die. Like,
yeah, laying
that's the only way out.
Yeah. Yep. No, it is.
Although I do kind of question that. Were we supposed to believe that the general guy, the Brune guy, knew there wasn't really a path and was like, all right, I'll just go anyways?
Yes, that's exactly what happened.
Okay. All right. So why would he do that? Because he knew he was going to die, and he also
he
why
didn't want
just
the Mormon. He felt bad about the Mormon massacre.
Yeah, it was an act of kindness
again.
and morality. He's like, he's trying to fix the mistake he made in the past, right? So he's like, I'm going to use my leadership to lead this gang of people out, and then they're all going to die. But then these innocent people in this town won't get murdered, which is...
Why didn't he just say, all right, I got to take your guns for a minute and take all of their guns and then hand them over to Blaze guy and just kill them all? Well, like, why didn't he just do that?
Okay. I mean, I think there's more risk that innocent people die in that approach, but I guess you could, or they'd be suspicious, or at some point he was losing his command a little bit because they were already like, I think something's up with him. He's not doing well. I don't know. But
then he would like pop up and he's like all dressed and ready to go. And it's like, I thought you were just dying 5 minutes ago. What the fuck? And he's at the dance. Like when he's at the dance, after the dance,
he's got a shot of morphine. That's when he comes down.
Tell all the people to go back to their houses, and we're going to have an old fashioned shootout. Just kill them all. I don't know.
I don't know.
Wow. You just want violence, Eric.
No, I think convincing them to go up the mountain knowing you're going to die anyways is a way riskier thing than, because they would have done they were under his control up until even to the point where they go up the mountain. I'm surprised the guys even agreed to it. I just thought if Brune really wanted to save the town, that was kind of a stupid way to go about it.
I don't think his goal was initially to save the town. He thought there was a mountain pass. Right. He thought there was a mountain pass. So what happens is he's convinced that there's a mountain pass, that the cavalry's going to come, and the criminals are going to get caught up and captured. So he convinces them, hey, we're going to take this mountain pass. And the general guy, Brune, is like, all right, we'll take the mountain pass in the morning. Sounds good. And then the farmer's daughter, the gal that wants a farmer, she tells the young kid who hasn't killed anybody yet, hey, don't go with them. You're going to die. There's no path in the mountain. And then that guy goes and then, fibs or tells the general. And then the general confronts the dude. And then he says, all right, please keep the plan because you're going to die. And then all of us are going to be fucked because these psychopaths will do psychopath shit to us without you there. And he says, well, okay. At that point, yes, I don't think he was going to be able to say, hey, give me all your guns. Here you go. Take these guns, shoot them. I mean, I don't know. I think at that point, yeah, he just appealed to his better nature. And he's like, okay, that's fine. I'll just die in a dignified way, I guess. I don't know. I think it makes sense. I like the horror and the greed of the bad guys eating each other up, right? I mean, you saw how tenuous their situation was. I mean, these are a lot of crazy personalities mixed together. And once the general dies, then...
Yeah, the other part we didn't mention is when they go up the mountain, they all have their share of the gold or whatever. Yeah. So, and then they all start realizing, hey, if I just kill that guy, the Native American dude, they just shoot him and take his share.
Yeah, it's the Dark Knight all over again. You're just like, oh, hey, less gold, more gold, less people to divide it against. And it's like horrifying. Like the one guy freezes to death and the other guy can't use his hands. And he's just like, his hands are frostbitten. He's just like jankily trying to shoot.
Having spent the week in Wyoming right before we watched this, like it is cold up in those mountains, man. Like we saw snow. It's July and there's snow up there. I can't imagine being there in freaking December or January or something. It must be absolutely unbearable. Well, I think it's cold in Minnesota, but it's nothing compared to what they have to deal with up in the mountains.
Yeah,
you know,
it was brutal up there. I mean, everyone died.
Harsh. Yeah, it looked harsh. Like even with the layers of clothes, they froze
Yeah, they
to
didn't
death.
have like, snow pants and the modern stuff, that modern coats and stuff. They're just wool pants and a little
Yep.
leather gloves.
But I didn't
No
like.
good.
Why was Blaze able to survive? He just knew
He's
better
tough.
how to make a.
He's tough.
Okay, just raw masculine power.
Yeah.
Okay,
Yeah.
it's not because he knew how to make a shelter more effectively or something.
Nope. Just the
Okay.
toughest of all of them.
He just stood there, he just took his shirt off and said,
Yeah.
"Look, you, Mother Nature," looked at the
Yeah.
bird and survived
That's
all night
right.
long.
That's right.
Okay.
Is that guy? So who Robert Ryan? Is that the guy? Was he the star? He's Blaze.
Yep, he's Blaze.
Was he a big time movie star?
He was in his fair share of movies.
He wasn't. I wouldn't call him a big star. He's in a lot of various westerns, and he's got various bit parts. Sometimes he's more of a lead, sometimes more of a side character. But it's not. You wouldn't call him a big star.
He boxed at Dartmouth and also lettered in football and track. What a fucking see! That's when men were men.
Yeah, he's a real tough guy.
Yeah, I mean the one I know him in is the Wild Bunch.
Oh, he's in that as well. Okay.
Yeah, he's one of the old cowboys. Goes out with a bang. But yeah, it's a lot of like old war and westerns. You're right. Back when, like, there'd be a lot of guys who were just like in the war, or cowboys would be like, "All right, I'm going to do some acting," and then they just act in like westerns and stuff. But yeah, I don't know. I mean, it felt sufficiently claustrophobic. I mean, they all felt like this. I mean, there was like 4 buildings in this little podunk town. There's just nothing there. Nobody had anywhere to go, so they just were all up in each other's business. And yeah, the stakes felt very real the whole time.
It did also. So I read that it was based off of like a novel. Like
Yeah.
I want to buy a bunch of those like old Western novels. I'm sure those are all great.
Like the ones in
Once Upon a Time in Hollywood. Yeah.
Yeah, it's like the girls reading. Yes, sure. Yeah, I mean,
Well-
I would be shocked if Quentin Tarantino had never seen or heard of this movie. Like that would blow my mind. Yeah, I think it feels like one of these like gems that he saw in the video store. And it's like, oh, this is great, and it was just in the back of his brain to do something like this.
Well, having not seen Hateful Eight, what was Hateful Eight about?
I get a bunch of people that are trapped do a storm at a saloon / hotel. There's a little more intrigue and drama and mystery in that one. But you get outlaws and everyday folk, and somebody's like a marshal or whatever. So you get all these characters that get stuck there, and there's a shifting power dynamic with guns, and everything's just kind of tenuous and tense. I'm not quite sure how it's going to all pay out.
Yeah, it's like if you had just cut right to where the cavalry is at the bar or whatever. Like that's kind of like where Hateful Eight starts, and it's like just that for an entire movie.
Okay.
With lots of Tarantino dialogue. And stuff.
Yeah,
But
it's a lesser Tarantino, if you ask me. It's on the bottom
Oh,
tier.
it is. It would probably be that. That would be just above Death Proof, I think, if I were ranking Tarantino movies. But it's still worth watching. Still good, but it's just not quite as excellent as his other stuff.
Yeah, I mean, it's his most like Western movie. It's a full on Western.
That's pretty Western.
Yeah, Kurt Russell's good. He plays the kind of the lead. Samuel Jackson's very good in it too.
Oh yeah. But I mean, you mentioned earlier, Eric, like men used to just take what they wanted, and this was like if the movie has a thesis, this is it. Like our guy was just going to kill somebody that was in his way and inconveniencing him, which he realizes ultimately like that's the people that he killed. He was allegedly morally superior to. He's just going to be just like them. Like if society's going to function, you can't just have people doing what they want just because they're the best at killing people. When he comes to that conclusion, and it did seem like he was going to die. I did think he was going to die out there, but the film lets him live and he makes it back to town. But he ultimately realizes, yeah, okay, I don't want to just be a murdering outlaw like the people I murdered to make this town. And he has to come to the conclusion, like, yeah, all right.
So you don't think he ends up killing Hal, the farmer?
No, I very much think he doesn't. No, I think he tells the woman he loves, and their relationship is super ambiguous. I don't know if they're going to keep boning on the side, what they're going to do. No idea, but he seemed to be saying like, okay, in the context of what happened, murdering Hal doesn't seem to make sense. This seems petty and small, and we'll figure it out. Because the prop doesn't seem intractable. It seems like you could say, hey, I'll give you access to my land for $5 or whatever the going rate was for an easement in 1870 or whatever. But that's my take, is that he decided not to kill him. It's like, I'd be just like those guys. I'd be the exact same as them.
Yeah, I mean, out in Wyoming, they just have, acres and acres of land. They just let the cattle roam wherever, it's not like on a farm. Like they're just going wherever they want for miles, Yeah. So, and if you want to establish a farm, you can't have cattle running over your shit. You got to block them off. So it's a, tough situation. The only thing I would say about the rancher guy is like, if none of this is developed, you have unlimited land. Like just take your cattle somewhere else. You know what I mean?
Yeah, but he didn't want to do that.
Yeah.
He's like, I made this town. I shouldn't have to. I shouldn't have to move somewhere else.
Well, so that was one thing that can't like, I would almost rather have seen that movie of he like civilizing this area where there's outlaws that are constantly trying to take things, and he's got to be all Wyatt Earp and be the law. I was like, I almost wish I would. That was the movie I was watching.
Oh, see, I think this is a lot more interesting because those are gratifying. That's like action movie. Superman, I'm just going to kill a bunch of dudes and show what I'm a badass.
Young Guns or whatever, yeah.
But that's not, I mean, this is the more challenging and interesting part to me. Like, and it's fun to watch a dude be awesome and kill a bunch of bad guys. Tons of those movies exist, but this is more interesting. And this reminded me of The Man Who Shot Liberty Valance. That movie's better, but that's the same concept. Trying to get a town, following rules, modern society at the time. Jimmy Stewart's not tough enough to kill Liberty Valance. John Wayne is, but also John Wayne can't really function as a leader government person. It's like, anyway, I don't know. I thought this is more interesting. There's a lot of movies where just a dude's a badass and kills all the bad guys. That's part, I suppose it's more fun, but this is I thought a lot more interesting because the whole time he's seeing these people, he's confronted with like, wait, what makes me different from these dudes? I killed a bunch of them, but am I just like them? Is it really just might makes right? Whoever's the toughest draw gets to do whatever they want. If so, then yeah, you're not morally superior. You're just better at killing people.
But he does have that whole speech where he's like, I've earned this, I've spent all this time and blood to make it so you can have your farm. Like, you don't have a farm if it's not for me.
That's true.
And I was just thinking it'd be kind of cool to see him actually do it. Like, see the effort, because then the speech would have maybe resonated a little more.
Well, see, I like that because he did have a good point. Like when we're getting the setup, I mean, it wasn't like he's just stupid and belligerent. I mean, he's got a point, but there's also got to be some sort of limit on your actions. Anyway. But yeah, I mean, it would be a fun movie if they made a prequel to Day of the Outlaw. I mean, I'd watch it and enjoy it. I mean, I'm not saying I hate that movie. It'd be fun, but this is the part that I just liked him having to like wrestle with that the whole time. I don't know. I thought it was really interesting.
Yeah, I liked his speech too. I thought his speech it did grab me a little bit when he was saying, we didn't do all the work, but we did pulled more than our fair share of gunning down outlaws and stuff. I felt that conveyed his toughness.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, it's a little like Wyatt Earp, where it's like, not he's done the work now. He wants to just reap the benefits of it.
And another thing I liked was Blaze's buddy, who's like initially trying to talk him out, like, I don't know, there's got to be some other way around this. I don't think we want to do this. And the conversation's boiling over. And so rather than have to like deal with it, he just gets shit faced.
Totally
so
hammered.
He's like, if I get so drunk, then I don't have to deal with this. I don't have to possibly kill innocent people. So I'm just going to get so fucking loud. I'm going to pass out face first on the bar. It's like, oh, that guy. That's hey, good call. Just, I'm no good to you, Blaze.
He had a good line where your coffee reminded me how good whiskey.
Yeah.
Like, oh yeah, cool guy.
Yeah, that was when the cavalry guys come. They clear out all the booze. It's like, oh man, let's get back to the whiskey. We need some more whiskey in this movie.
Yeah, well, I mean, I don't know. I don't have a lot more to say. I mean, I think this is a really fun movie. I mean, if we're doing our old movies good, this is an old movie that I thought was really good. It was really fun. I mean, I thought, they did the most with a relatively small amount of sets. Apparently, there was a lot of production issues. The director was going through some personal shit and had some hard times making decisions and stuff. But I really dug it. I thought this was really fun. I think I went 4 out of 5 stars. I thought this was really good. I mean, it's free to watch, hour and a half long. The worst part is probably the setup, the first 20 some minutes of setup, but then it really crackles after that.
Yeah, I agree. I'd recommend to watch this movie. It's free. You can find it anywhere. I watched it on YouTube, the colorized version. I thought it was pretty tastefully done. The colorizing anyway. The movie, it was tense. It really held that tension for a better part of an hour. And I like the performances. Burl Ives was great as Jack Brune, the leader of the Outlaws.
Yeah.
I found him, he was a commanding presence, but yet you could see that he had a little bit of heart in him. He had some regret. And the lead was a tough guy. He was a real tough guy, and it showed. And he did a good job of playing the part of Outlaw Slayer.
I would say 3.5 for me. Did really enjoy it. Like old westerns like this, it's sort of, you could put it on and it's sort of like background noise for me, or whatever, and just like background music. It did start a little slow. I agree with that. I think there's a little too much setup. Little too much, like you don't really need to spend all that time with some of the town's folks, like the one girl, and she has the love interest in the gang. Like you don't really need that plot line, I think. But yeah, it's a good old movie.
All right,
for sure.
Take it. 3.5 stars from Eric on a movie that came out in the 1950s. Hey,
yeah,
I'll take that.
Yeah, I'll take that to the bank. All right. Anything else about Day of the Outlaw? Should we move on to next week?
Yeah, let's find out what we're watching next week.
It's me this week, right? I'm picking. Is that correct?
Yes,
okay. All right. A little trivia to figure this movie out. I think you guys will probably get it. Maybe not. We'll see. I don't know if there's really any amount of clues I can give, but I'll start. It came out in 2012, and it's a coming-of-age drama. Nope, not going to get it off of that. it has the lead of the movie is like a really big star.
Okay.
You'll know him, but it also has Sam Shepard and Reese Witherspoon in it.
Okay.
It takes place in Arkansas, and it only grossed about $32 million. So it wasn't like a big hit movie.
Is Robert Pattinson the lead?
No, he's not.
Okay.
Let's see. The star. I'll give you the star of the movie. It's Matthew McConaughey.
The romantic comedy?
No, it's a coming of age drama.
Coming of age drama. Starring Matthew.
Yeah, see, I
McConaughey.
think I could probably give you like just about everything, and I don't think you guys will guess this.
Oh, okay.
It's about a pair of teenagers who encounter a fugitive hiding on a small island.
Is it Mud?
Mud, yes. Okay,
Uh-oh.
you did get it. All right, you both got it at the same time.
Yeah, I don't know if I've seen it, but I remember
I have not
it coming
seen it.
out.
I've
It's
seen it.
written. Oh, you have seen it. It's written and directed
Yeah.
by Jeff Nichols. He had the Bike Riders movie that just came out. So I like he had the Midnight Special, I think is one of his movies that I really liked. So I've never seen this, and I think it was his biggest hit movie to date. So it's on, you can watch it on Tubi, I think. And it's also, if you have YouTube TV, you can just watch it on demand.
Okay.
It's called Mud.
No, I remember this when I was listening to a lot of podcasts. This one was talked about. I didn't ever watch it. But okay.
I watched it.
Okay.
I watched it. I'll save my thoughts for later though.
Okay.
Okay.
Cool. Mud.
All right.
Well, put your 6-shooter away and go round up your cattle.
Hold the